USA Gymnastics, who gained notoriety for his heinous crimes.
Nasar typically carried out abuse under the guise of medical treatment. He hijacked rare public therapy, then also. And
Without getting sentence. This is not the first time contact has lost control of the court. Just like what happened in the notorious case of 20-year-old Trey Young, who's facing multiple charges including sexual battery, aggravated assault, and more, on September 8th, 2015.
These are literally just one step from being babies. For gratification, you violated a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. I'm going to tell you something, Mr. McFadden. There's no free in my courtroom.
Mr. Tingley, basically you're a monster who has destroyed the innocence of numerous...
I was sitting on the couch about to watch a movie, and I heard a voice in my head telling me to do something to her.
This is 70-year-old Terry McFadden, who is facing charges for his involvement in a serious accident at an in-home daycare he operates with his wife in Grandview Heights, Ohio. In 2019, the Grandview Heights Police Department received a report from Franklin County Children's Services regarding inappropriate contact between McFadden and the children under his care. The police then questioned McFadden about these allegations.
Do you have any idea what this is about? What any type of allegation there would be that we would be here needing to talk to you?
I'd rather you tell me.
Do you have an idea though?
I don't know.
Initially, McFadden acted as if he had no idea what the officers were referring to, something he would contradict only minutes later.
The complaint is nature. Okay. I can tell that. Did you expect me to say that? Because it kind of seemed like it. This is the time to get it all out there. Just tell us what happened so we can follow up accordingly. Okay.
Okay.
Can you tell us what happened?
Well, I know. Just most recently, Friday, when Jen came up in to pick up, she was naked from the waist down, which she had just taken off her. So again, she climbed up behind me and then went over, just rolled over, like gymnastics kind of thing, and onto the floor, and then rolled over, and then suddenly she put her down and did that. So,
is there anything else that might have happened? Because something like that we really wouldn't be investigating. Things like that happen. 4-year-olds are going to be 4-year-olds.
did you climb on top of you with her off? Did you touch her in a way that wouldn't have been appropriate for a caretaker to touch? Yes. Okay.
Following this interview, McFadden was arrested and charged to court. Here, he was forced to come face-to-face with the mother of one of the girls he's accused of f***ing.
Terry McFadden is a psychopath who our girls, fooled us, fooled 25 years worth of families, his wife's daycare. He's a skilled pedophile and a sociopath.
McFadden, visually upset by these comments, would be seen shaking his head as the family spoke. Now, Terry would be given the chance to speak.
I apologize to the victims, to two little girls. I hope to work to become a better person when I have served my complete sentence.
He expressed remorse and accepted full responsibility for his actions, but Judge Julie Lynch, who was presiding over the case, had seen enough.
This court is so sick and tired of seeing adults ruin innocent children. These are literally just one step from being babies. They come to a daycare, those parents struggle so that when they release their children to someone during the day, they have some semblance that that child is going to be protected and safe. Not let alone 2 of their children being by your own admission, sir.
And now, McFadden would learn his sentence.
On count 1, I'm sending you to prison for 11 years. On count 4, I'm sending you to prison for 11 years. They will be consecutive to each other for a total of 22 years.
McFadden was escorted out of the courtroom after being sentenced to 22 years in prison. Terry's crimes were horrendous, but he never went as far as murdering his victims. Something that can't be said about Granville Ritchie.
In the murder of a 9-year-old Tampa girl, her naked body was found floating near the Courtney Campbell Causeway over the weekend.
Who was accused of improper contact and the murder of 9-year-old Felicia Williams. Felicia's death greatly affected her family and friends. Granville Ritchie was eventually arrested. The jury's verdict came after a trial that revealed the terrifying details of the crime. The sentencing phase commenced with emotional testimonies. The victim's grandmother was in tears as she told the court.
I just miss my grandbaby.
Felicia Demerson, the mother of the young victim, knew precisely what she wanted for Granville.
I've waited 2,310 days for this day to come. I cannot ask for his fate. And that would be for him to be hung, for him to feel what my daughter felt.
The sister was not left out.
She meant the world to us, and he discarded her like she was nothing.
The testimonies were so emotional that even the judge was in tears.
My heart breaks for you as a mother, absolutely breaks for you as a mother.
But the most shocking part of the proceeding was the testimony of Felicia's father.
That's how strong my God is. I come here and smile at you today with no harm or ill will towards you. You made a mistake, but you got time. You got time to get right with God, bro.
In the end, the judge, Hillsborough Circuit Judge Michelle Cisco, read her sentence.
As to count 1, for the first-degree murder of Felicia Williams, the defendant, Granville Ritchie, is hereby sentenced to death.
But Judge Cisco wasn't done with Granville just yet. Surprisingly, Granville appealed his death sentence, but the Supreme Court didn't entertain his pleas. Granville showed no remorse for his crimes and is now awaiting his death sentence in prison. Now, let's compare the jaw-dropping reaction of Granville Ritchie to the shocking remarks by Larry Nasar.
Larry Nasar, I hate you. I, too, was assaulted by Larry Nasar multiple times at multiple appointments. The word Nasar will permanently be associated with child abuse.
Larry Nasar was a former osteopathic sports physician at Michigan State University and USA Gymnastics, who gained notoriety for his heinous crimes.
Nasar typically carried out his abuse under the guise of a medical treatment. He hijacked a rare pelvic therapy that involves and used it to treat all sorts of ailments. He ignored protocols such as using a glove, asking consent, or having a medical chaperone present.
What have you done?
During the investigation, Larry denied all responsibilities and blamed the victims instead.
I don't get it. Why didn't she say something if she was feeling violated in any way, shape, and form? There was no communication.
Okay.
You don't have patient confidence and patient trust. You'd have been having my here how many times?
Right.
Okay, especially when I'm doing this. I'm 10-year-olds, 12-years-olds, okay, with their parents there. But I'm obviously doing a doggone good job explaining things, okay, because what? I shouldn't be getting an exam.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this is why I'm talking about this, because this young girl and her mother both observed this on more than one occasion during treatment.
If there was arousal, it's. I mean, like it would be because of whatever. I don't know, but I'm not trying to.
Whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
When you're a guy, sometimes you get it all right.
Following this interview, Nasar was charged with inappropriate behavior towards over 265 young women and girls. Among his victims were numerous Olympic and United States women's national gymnastics team gymnasts. During the trial, one victim told the court how Larry's actions had affected her.
I, too, was assaulted by Larry Nasar multiple times at multiple appointments. My last treatment was in August 2016. I'm possibly the last he will ever assault.
But she wasn't alone. The parents of the victims were not left out, and they brought out the emotions of Larry.
I'm the mother of Chelsea Markham. I had been in the room with her during her examination, as usual, and I said, "Are you ready to go to lunch?" And she's like, "No, Mom, I just want to go home." And I said, "What's wrong? Are you in pain?" And she said, "Mom, I just want to go home." And I said, "Okay." So we got in the car, and I said, and she started bawling. And I said, "Chelsea, tell me what's wrong." And she said, "Mom, he put his face in me, and they weren't gloved." And I said, "Chelsea, I was right there in the room." And she goes, "You couldn't see what was going on, Mom." And she said, "He hurt me." And so in 2009, she took her own life because she couldn't deal with the pain anymore. It'll be 10 years in March that I lost my baby. She was 23 years old. She would have been 33 now. And every day I miss her.
However, you won't believe what happens next. It was finally Larry's turn to address the court.
Your words these past several days have had a significant emotional effect on myself and has shaken me to my core. I also recognize that what I'm feeling pales in comparison to the pain, trauma, and emotional destruction that all of you have feeling. There are no words that can describe the depth and breadth of how sorry I am for what has occurred. An acceptable apology.
Sir, you need to stay at the microphone or they can't hear you.
An acceptable apology to all of you is impossible to write and convey. I will carry your words with me for the rest of my days.
Now, the judge will hand down her sentence, but before then, she reads a letter Larry wrote during the investigation.
Letter states, now Aquilina is having a 4-day sentencing media circus. She wants me to sit in the witness box next to her for all 4 days, so the media cameras will be directed toward her.
Now, Larry will learn his fate.
It was my honor and privilege to hear the sister survivors. It is my honor and privilege to sentence you because, sir, you do not deserve to walk outside of a prison ever again. Your decision to assault was precise, calculated. Sir, I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I've just signed your death warrant.
Compare the jaw-dropping reaction of Larry to the astonishing outburst by 46-year-old Anthony Thornton,
Be quiet and don't talk in my courtroom.
who's facing charges of sexual assault in Wayne County.
It was DNA evidence, right, that led to the conviction?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Karen. You know, Thornton actually gave that consent for his DNA to be taken in the middle of the interview, and it was through the kids that they found him linked to multiple in the Detroit area dating back 7 years. So it was kids that essentially got him in this courtroom today.
He encountered while they were both residing at a Detroit homeless shelter in April 2010. Thornton lured the victim into an abandoned building for activities such as drinking, smoking, and playing cards. It was here that the alleged attack took place. To make matters worse, finally processed, a DNA match identified Thornton as the woman's attacker. In court, Anthony decides to take the stand and defend himself.
Yes, it was me and her had consensual. I asked her.
Eventually, Anthony was found guilty. Now is the time the judge gives her sentence.
See, when you tell one lie, you gotta remember the 100 lies that you told to cover that lie up.
That wasn't a lie.
Be quiet and don't talk in my courtroom.
The real shocker came when Anthony unleashed his madness in the courtroom, but Judge Vonda Evans wasn't having it.
Be quiet. Take him back. Take him out. Take him out now. No, you take him out. I'm innocent.
After Anthony had been taken out of the courtroom, Judge Vonda continued her verdict unbothered.
Guilty beyond a reasonable doubt as to count 1 and count 2 criminal sexual conduct.
Eventually, she orders Anthony back to the courtroom and gave him a piece of her mind.
Mr. Thornton, I'm going to address with the comment that you made. It was disrespectful for you
I'm sorry.
to say me.
I'm sorry. Really sorry.
You were out of line.
Yes, I was, and I'm sorry. All I've been saying is how things about
I'm saying what you said to this court.
And I apologize deeply because you've been treating me fair.
I have never been anything but respectful to you. And for you to say me in my courtroom was unacceptable.
Yes, I'm deeply sorry. Just
take it back.
Eventually, he was sentenced to 15 to 30 years in prison. However, while it was clear that Anthony wasn't happy to hear he was guilty, his reaction to his sentence was similar to the case of 70-year-old James Tingley, who's facing charges for a serious incident
I know a lot of people, I'm sure, think the only money we should waste on you, Mr. Tingley, is the cost of a bullet. But I think it's worth every penny to lock you up for the rest of your life.
But James wasn't alone. Randy Stevens, the father of the children, was also facing similar charges. Stevens had been convicted of abuse involving 5 counts of abusing one of his daughters and 3 counts of aiding and abetting Tingley. He provided Tingley with access to his daughters in exchange for money. Together, the two men reached unprecedented levels of abuse. Now in court, Assistant Prosecutor Jennifer Walker didn't mince words.
To him, are nothing more than animals to sell, to trade their bodies. They're not the animals. He is the animal. He is the man that deserves to be locked up in a cage for the rest of his life.
It is now Judge Thomas Wilson's turn to address James.
Mr. Tingley, you've been molesting for the last 40 to 50 years. From the trial, we know that there's at least 5 other victims than what we dealt with here. Mr. Tingley, basically, you're a monster who has destroyed the innocence of numerous children. Unfortunately, they have to live with what was done to them the rest of their lives. The lucky ones will realize that they did nothing wrong, that they were just the victims of a sick. But it's going to have long-term impacts on all these little girls that were molested.
It's finally time to give his sentence.
Therefore, on count 1, 25 to 50 years. Counts 2 through 4, 25 to 50 years. Counts 5 through 6, 20 years to 40 years.
Keep in mind, James isn't alone in his courtroom actions. Let's not forget the infamous incident involving 34-year-old Darnell Booth, who was facing serious charges for sexual misconduct. Booth, an Uber driver, had an extensive criminal record, including a prior accusation of sexual assault. In court, the prosecutor highlighted the seriousness of the case.
He pulled into a parking lot. At that point, he turned and told her to take off her. At that point, he leaned over from the driver's seat and slapped her in the face on 2 occasions.
Despite the horrifying nature of Booth's offenses, his actions in court managed to shock everyone present. While the prosecutor detailed his crime, this is how Booth reacted.
One person is Darnell Booth with 1 charge for rape.
Booth later recovered, but his defense attorney, Joe Stringer, had another perspective.
I have received a police report, and I've listened to the statement of probable cause, and I would suggest that there are far more questions than answers.
Booth was held without bail pending his sentence. This is not the first time a convict has lost control in court. Just like what happened in the notorious case of 20-year-old Terry Young, who's facing multiple charges including sexual battery, aggravated assault, and more. On September 8th, 2015, fingerprints from the victim's car and a Fireball whiskey bottle found in the victim's home led the police to Terry, and he was arrested. Now in court, Terry arrests the judge.
Yo, man, and take responsibility for my actions. Just say sorry again, y'all. My bad.
It is now Judge Kelly's turn to address Terry.
It was related, but I'm glad that you accepted responsibility. It did prevent other witnesses from having to come forward and relive the nightmare again. What is your plea?
Eventually, Terry was sentenced to life imprisonment, with a chance for parole after 35 years. Just when you thought you've seen it all, another convict surpasses Terry's horrifying behavior. Enter Timothy Madden, who's facing multiple charges, including kidnapping and murder. According to police reports, she was at a playground with her brothers.
7-year-old Gabby Doolin disappeared from a football game at Allen County Scottsville High School. Just 30 minutes later, she was found dead in the woods nearby.
Timothy was arrested a week later after DNA reports pointed to him. In court, Judge Crocker read Timothy's charges.
You are charged with kidnapping and murder.
While the mother of the victim stifled her cries. It was an emotional day in court. Eventually, Gabby's mother finally had the chance to address the man who violently took away her baby. His conduct in court will make her blood run cold. As she began to read, Timothy was unconcerned and showed it. But the father of the victim, who had waited 4 years for this moment, wasn't having it.
You let him listen to what she's got to say. Do you understand me? Do you understand me?
Mr. Doolin, Mr. Doolin.
I'm sick of it. We've let my man, we've had 4 years. He can give her 3 minutes to say what she needs to say.
Let's take a brief recess. If you'll please, if you'll escort Mr. Madden out.
3 minutes.
Eventually, the judge was able to calm everybody down. After the recess, the mother finally had time to ask Timothy questions.
As of you, we lost our baby girl. Our boys lost their sister before she was even 8 years old. You took her from us. Why did you do it? There is no reason that you could give. Gabby was an innocent little girl.
Timothy was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, and after 1,439 days, the family finally had closure. Timothy showed no reaction to his sentence, and is currently serving his sentence in prison. However shocking Timothy's reaction to the sentence was, how does it compare to the case of John Acklin, who was facing charges for inappropriate behavior towards 2 children, both under the age of 11 at the time?
I'm finally happy that today I'm able to seek justice for what I've been through.
In August 2017, the 2 victims disclosed the sexual abuse to the state police. After interviews with child advocates and psychologists, John was arrested.
These cases are still heartbreaking for as long as I've been doing this, and for as hard as the state police, the Texas Rangers, and the Child Advocacy Center works on behalf of these children, and as courageous as these child victims, survivors have been, they affect us all.
The survivors, now grown, summoned incredible courage to confront their abuser in open court.
I'm finally happy that today I'm able to seek justice for what I've been through, and I hope that he's sentenced to the rest of his life in prison because he should never be let out to harm any other child.
But before Judge Jonathan D. Nichols handed down the maximum penalty, he has something to let off his chest.
In my view, you place those 2 young victims in a psychological and emotional constraint, in a sense, incarceration. I hope that through this process they each can continue what they have been doing to free themselves of that you have robbed them of childhood and adolescence.
Then comes the sentence.
Today is your day for incarceration, Mr. Acklin. You will be incarcerated in state prison for the rest of your natural life.
John Acklin showed no remorse and was sentenced to an astounding 335 years in prison. While John's behavior raised eyebrows, It's nothing compared to the disturbing actions of 20-year-old Edwin Wren,
This is the only time that you've had a blackout and forgot what happened, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
who's facing charges for sexual assault. Wren also claimed that he heard voices and blacked out after the crime.
I was sitting on the couch about to watch a movie, and I heard a voice in my head telling me to do something to her.
But the prosecutor disagreed. The prosecutors also pointed out the levels Wren went to in order to cover up his crime.
How many times did you ask her to lie for you?
Once.
And what did you tell her to say?
That I was with her.
They ensured the court knew the damage he had done. Eventually, Wren was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. While some may attribute Wren's reaction to mental illness, it pales in comparison to the unfathomable behavior of Ariel Castro, who committed a series of horrific crimes that shocked the nation. Between 2002 and 2004, Ariel Castro kidnapped 3 women. These women were held captive in Castro's home for nearly a decade.
Help me, I'm in the Berry. You need police, fire, ambulance. I'm the police. Okay, yeah, what's going on there? I've been doing that, and I've been missing for 10 years, and I'm here, I'm free now.
Now in court, the victims detail what they went through. Family members who were made to wait 10 years before seeing their loved ones again didn't hold back.
You took 11 years of my life away, and I have got it back. I spent 11 years in hell. Now your hell is just beginning.
But she isn't done. She turns directly to Castro.
What does God think of you hypocritically going to church every Sunday, coming home to torture us? The death penalty will be so much easier. You deserve to spend life in prison. I can forgive you, but I'll never forget.
It is now Castro's turn to address the court.
I just want to clear the record that I am not a monster. I did not prey on the women. I just acted on a instance because of my addiction. And God is my witness. I never beat these women that are trying to say that I did. I never told you.
The judge finally delivers his sentence.
Mr. Castro, did you advise, please? Sir, there's no place in this city. There's no place in this country. Indeed, there's no place in this world for those who enslave others, those who assault others, or those who brutalize others. More than 10 years you have preyed upon 3 women. You subjected them to harsh and violent conduct. You felt you were dominating them, but you were incorrect. You could not take away their dignity. Although they suffered terribly in this night, Mr. Jesus and Miss Berry did not give up hope. They have persevered. In fact, they prevailed. These remarkable women, again, have their freedom, which is the most precious aspect of being an American. Mr. Castro, you forfeited that right. You now become a member with the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. You will be confined for the remainder of your days. Now, from this night, Mr. Jesus and Miss Berry, as well as your young daughter, we celebrate your futures. We acknowledge the faithfulness of your families, your friends, and all others in this community. On behalf of the judges and the staff of this court, we wish each of you success and a sense of peace. We're adjourned. Thank you.
You can see the joy on the victim's face. However, just 1 month into his life sentence, Ariel Castro took